na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. The next part of this little adventure is to go ahead and get the big steel ring attached to the motor. You can see I've clamped it in place, and I've got to drill holes in them to correspond to these bolt holes that are on the motor itself. So first I'm going to mark it with a little red paint, or burgundy paint rather. I'm just using burgundy because the car that I had this touch-up paint for has long since been sold. I can't remember which one it was. But I got the paint, so I'm going to use it. Like everything else in my workshop, I just use what I got. So after I get all these holes marked, I'm going to throw that ring up on the drill press, drill those out. And there that is. We got them holes drilled. And the bolts just loosely set through. Now those are metric bolts. And of course this drive motor from the forklift is American made, so it's SAE. So I'm going to have to go find out what thread that is on the holes that are in the motor. Or I can just put a slightly smaller bolt through and, you know, put a nut on the other side. But I'd rather just use the threaded holes for once, being a little more elegant in my implementation than is my want. So there we go. Next step will be assembling the motor coupler. So now it's as good a time as any to talk about where I'm at. I have drilled the holes on the ring on the motor. That is now attached with some hardened bolts. At least everything's purportedly hardened bolts. I'm buying 10.9s or 12s or 12.9s. That's what's on the bolts. That's what they're saying. Of course, there's been a rash of counterfeit bolts coming out of different countries. We won't name them. And the result is that those things can shear. We all hope that they aren't in our airplanes. I'm hoping they are not in my electric car, because I sure don't want, for example, my motor coupler, which is using hardened bolts, to have those bolts shear like cheese, because that's a mission critical part right there. If that blows up, the car ain't gonna move. Anyways, the ring is on with hardened bolts, and I am now gradually marking and drilling holes on this plate so that I can attach that firmly. I've still got a set of holes I got to drill in the bottom. I've marked them with my pencil, and when all that's done and bolted up, I am now going to try to dry fit these two objects together and get a measurement on how far the standoffs need to be. So, back in a sec. So we now have this thing drilled out and some nice big honking hardened bolts in place there. So the next step will be to move this thing around so it's hanging off the edge of its little trolley there. And then I'm going to wheel up the electric motor on a hydraulic jack. Hopefully it won't fall off and break or something. And see if I can't get those shafts to line up, because I need to figure out what the standoff is between the two steel plates. You'll see what I mean in a minute. So here we are. I'm attempting to line up that shaft with the corresponding hole in the motor mount, or the motor coupler, and it's not going well. But I just have to be patient. I just gotta fiddle and fiddle, lower it, raise it, move it back and forth until it finally lines up and just slides together. So this is how I'm doing it. Probably not optimal, but we do what we got to do with what we got, right? So here we are. We've managed to get the two sides to mate up with a little bit of wiggling and shoving and swearing. It slid onto the shaft. This is now the correct position for the motor coupler to be in, and you can now see the distance between plate number 1 and plate number 2. I've got to put in standoffs between those two and then weld them in place That is the distance I need for this to work. So I think the coupler, try and get down in that hole. I guess that's a hopeless task. I believe the coupler is riding in the correct direction, or in the right position. And this is how the unit's going to look. This is what's going to get lowered into the Volvo once it's all one piece. That motor is considerably smaller than the 5-cylinder engine that's stock, so I should have some room to play with in the engine compartment. And of course I'm going to use that because I want to put half the battery bank in the nose. That's where the car expects to have weight. That's what the suspension's set up for. So if I put half the batteries there, 6 batteries, and then 6 strategically placed in other parts of the chassis, it should not upset the balance of the suspension or the handling characteristics. So that's, obviously in the future, but knowing I'm going to have room in the engine compartment, it makes me feel good. So let's see what we do in a minute. So what I'm doing now is poking an endoscope down through that inspection port, just to make sure that that mount is on the shaft to the correct depth. And it looks fine to me. I just didn't want to guess and then, weld standoffs onto those plates and then find out, oh, I got the distance wrong. So, yeah, I'm really liking the fact that I remembered I have an endoscope. Ordinarily, I use this for acoustic guitars. If something's broken inside of one, I can poke the thing in and see that. I can check the quality of my own work when I put bracing in. And the other thing I've done with it is sometimes I meet somebody who has a very expensive, very unique, older acoustic guitar. They'll let me poke my endoscope in very carefully, and I can take a good look at the bracing and, take a look at some secrets. It doesn't take long to do. It's like, oh, that's a modified X brace, or ooh, they've shaved those braces. So, an endoscope is a good thing to have. And this one has told me that this motor is in fact where it needs to be. So now I'm going to measure up, figure out where those standoffs are, and then we'll have all the information we need, and I can take this precarious mess down. Okay, well, 2 inches is just about the target. And what I got here is a piece of black pipe. A black pipe nipple that is 2 inches long, and it fits fine. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is go get 6 of these, because they'll be the same length, and then I'm going to tack weld them. Yeah, I don't see what else to do. So I'm not going to tack weld today. I had a long day at work. But I'm going to take all this down, and then come this weekend, maybe, I'm going to throw some sparks around. Yeah. All right, that's it for the video. Thanks. Bye.